In the book of Esther, we see a similar thing. We know the story, how Haman had obtained permission from the king. In fact, Haman went before and had organized everything so that the Jews could be killed on a particular day. They cast lots, and the day was agreed. He even gave money for the purpose. And a decree was written. Now, Esther chapter 4, verse 1. I'll just read verse 1, tell a story, go to verse 16, and then we'll take a few more verses, and we'll see the result of that fast. When Esther chapter 4, verse 1 now. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, that is the signing of the decree that Jews can be killed, and that Haman had paid, and that Haman and the king had gone drinking. Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and a bitter cry. We know that he also went to the palace and cried. In fact, when Esther, his niece, heard that Mordecai was crying and torn clothes outside, she even sent clothes thinking that the problem was that he had no clothes to wear. That's how ridiculous it was for her. Or a ridiculous situation, that her own response. But Mordecai said, the matter is beyond clothing. This is a matter of Jews to be killed. Your father's people are going to be killed. What are you going to do about it? After a few exchanges here and there, he told Esther about fasting, or Esther came up with that plan. And in verse 16, let's read verse 16 of chapter 4. This is Esther sending a message to Mordecai. It says, go, gather all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me. Of course, we know they didn't understand the scriptures much. And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go unto the king, which is not according to law. And if I perish, I perish. You remember Esther's objection was that, the king has not sent for me all this long. I cannot go before him just like that. If I go and he doesn't hold out the golden scepter, I'm a finished person. I'm dead. Then Mordecai said to her that, if you think that in the palace you are going to be safe, you will not be safe. And let us tell you, you don't know whether it's for this reason that you are even there at this point in time. And besides, if disaster comes, if you don't do anything and disaster comes, you will not be spared, even though you're in the palace. So she fasted. They fasted. Now, let's go to chapter 5, from verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. Remember, the king didn't send for her. Now she has to appear before the king. And she's going. If the king does not hold out the scepter, she's finished. In verse 2 it says, and it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. If he hadn't done that, what would have happened to Esther? They would have beheaded her, even though she was queen. That was what she was going to face. But they had fasted. And she went. I told you that fasting is a matter of faith. That this fast, I'm going. God has given me way. And she went by faith. And the king stretched forth his scepter and she touched it. In verse 3, then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther? What do you want from me? And what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to what? The half of the kingdom. What tremendous power in a fast. God was willing to touch the heart of a king, to give up to half of his kingdom as a result of a fast. And this is a corporate fast where everybody fasted. We need to be challenging ourselves when we read things like this. What is our own testimony from a fast? What were you even fasting for in the first place? We fast for contracts. We fast for things that we want to consume on ourselves, not for things that God is concerned about. That's one of the reasons why we don't get the kind of results that we expect. And even when we say we are fasting for a serious thing, our mind is busy. We are elsewhere. We're not focused on God and on the matter that is before us.